He strikes again.
How you doing? This is Big Will again. We're dealing with the same stuff. It goes with the territory, unfortunately, but you have to fight fire with fire when it comes to that. Again, you know, every week, this is a weekly thing that this person keeps writing that. I don't know if it's I know it's an individual that's doing it, but I don't know if it's a reference to a group or whatever. Like I said, we don't go in there, but they come out here, you know what I'm saying? And that's one of the problems that we have with, you know, with vandalism, you know what I'm saying? If you have expressive art in the skate park, it needs to stay in the skate park. It can't spread like cancer everywhere else. We've been dealing with this here for 22 years or so, 20 years that this has been here. But that's the problem that we have, you know what I'm saying? And these are the cans, they're constantly doing it, it's a constant thing. It's just something that, like I said, one good thing should not mess up another good thing. And if their good thing is having a space to feel free and have there's a lot of positivity about what they do, they shouldn't mess up something else that people feel free and have positive, you know, vibes doing too. Like when we play handball, you know, we have our own handball culture, we have our own, you know, reasons why we want a wall that is, you know, untouched and stuff like that, so we can see the ball. I mean, we just had a tournament Saturday in Holyoke, and obviously with the color scheme, it's a bit of a challenge in the sun and stuff like that. So that's why we want, you know, not to have those kind of things. The answer to something like this is not just covering it with a mural, you know what I mean? Because that's actually giving in to the element that doesn't respect other spaces in the park, because it has to do with that. It's a respect issue. Like I said, this is not an art issue. It's not that. It's just, I just want to do whatever I want, and nobody can tell me anything about what I want to do. You know what I'm saying? And that's part of what vandalism is. You know, these people obviously is unwanted because the parks are having to paint it every time they do it. You know what I'm saying? If it's unwanted, then it's a criminal act. You know what I mean? You're not getting permission to do it, so you're continually doing that. Like they probably started doing that. They want to continue doing the whole thing. It's going to get painted again and again and again. That's the way you fight that.
We just had this done Wednesday morning.
And you just need...
Last Wednesday, August 10th.
I think that they need to do better with cracking down on that kind of behavior, honestly, because that's how those type of things spread like cancer. You know what I mean? You have to be on top of it. You know, you have to get it before it gets out of control. And then what happens is it gets out of control. You know what I mean? Like, it's not always, I mean, yeah, that's what we want, more people using it, but you know, it's still should be respected, even if it's an empty space. You know, it doesn't give people the right to do all of that shit.
And we do not want the handball courts to be empty all the time.
Yeah, no, we don't want that. I think obviously more usage definitely makes a difference. But even with that, when we were all up here, when this was brand new and we didn't have the fence and all that, it was still happening. You
Well, the only fence that we have is a partial fence facing the parking lot. And it's been a fight for 22 years to get the additional fencing all the way around.
They're not going to do it. They don't want to do it. And even if we end up with the courts at Camp Street, we don't want to forget about this court here, because this is a nice neutral park. This is a nice neutral location. You know what I'm saying? Like, these two things were supposed to be meant to coexist together. But I knew from the beginning, when I was changing a design of this without fencing, that it was going to be a problem. I suggested that they not put a handball courts next to the skate park, you know what I'm saying? Because of this exact problem. Nothing against skating, because skating is awesome. It's just that this is what goes with it. This is what comes with it. You know what I mean? The constant vandalism. Not just that. You know, obviously you have this. It's not gouging in it, but you know, they jump against the wall a lot. That's where all those scuffs are from. You know, and at the end of the day, this is not part of the skate park. This is not part of it. It should be, if this was being done on a tennis court at Dean Park or at Lake Avenue over there in Worcester, people probably would have been arrested by now. You know what I'm saying?
On the tennis courts over there.
Yeah, they wouldn't allow it. You know what I'm saying? They wouldn't allow it. So that's the problem with that. You know what I mean? And you know, the skateboard community are not the only ones that need to release stress and to have that freedom that they want. They're not the only ones. The handball community feels that as well. We want to have a good time and play. The racquetball community, the same thing. We all have a bunch of things on our shoulders and things we deal with in life, and we just want to have some fun and exercise and take all of that negativity and take it out on the court, having a good time. But it does suck when you try to do that and there's someone else's supposed privilege stress, you know what I mean? And I say that because I think that they get treated a little bit better. It's a double standard, you know what I mean? When we had graffiti and the handball community, you seen that old video with Lawrence, there was like some certain views that they had with the people that were playing handball 40 years ago. And that was obviously part of the element that was going on. Most of the handball players that I understood and knew at that time were not writing on the walls. You know, we might have had one or two that kind of dabbed into doing that kind of stuff, but for the most part, the handball players weren't the ones writing on their own wall. That was the surrounding community that was doing that in those particular locations. And they knew people hung out there, so they tended to, like, even like with Chandler when we moved here in '99, they were doing that against the school, and I know the school had issues with that. Chandler Elementary School was a place that was known for handball, even from the early '80s, maybe even the late '70s, that people used another wall there, and then they used the other one when they came here. There was a lot of tournaments there. I mean, every Wednesday they had one. So, you know, at that time, anyway, I noticed that there was some vandalism around the building, and I bet the school had issue with that. But it wasn't the handball players for the most part. I think that, like I said, you always get one person that thinks that it's okay to write on the wall, and they happen to smack the ball around sometimes too, but they weren't really, a true handball player is not going to do that, because we know the sport. We understand that, you know, and you know, I hate it because there are some people that come here and they skate and they bother no one, they have a good time, they ride their bikes. Yeah, they cut through because it's the easiest access. If I was a skater, I probably would cut through the same way they do. But the writing on the wall and the stuff like that is where the problem is, you know what I mean? We're really trying to discourage that. And like I said, if it's being painted over and over again, I think that the parks need to really crack down and see catching someone do this and giving them a fine. You know what I mean? And actually, but they got to take this more serious, you know what I mean? Because it's taking man hours to continually doing that. And we're trying to grow handball. Like when the clinics that we were doing and we're working is for the future of handball. You know, a lot of times you don't see that immediate growth right there and then, but we're trying to get more people to be more aware of the sport of handball. And a lot of times it's very grassroots, it's very organic, so a lot of times you don't see that immediate growth because it takes time to learn the sport, but you have to be very steady. And there's only two of us, you know what I'm saying? I mean, a lot of times, unfortunately, we can't be in every place at the same time. So we're traveling and traveling. We neglect a lot of our own personal stuff that we have to do in our own lives at home and everything. And so it's going to be times that we're going to be a little bit busier and we're not going to be out as vigilant. Today, you know, obviously one of our friends that comes up here and practices, you know, lets us know if something's going down, and we appreciate that, you know, so because that's the way it's supposed to be. We're supposed to be networked as a community.
And what happened at Crompton today, Will?
No, yeah, that there too. I mean, there's what's happening at Crompton is what happens is if you have a space that starts to get less usage, other things immediately start creeping in. At Crompton, we obviously, I noticed some scuff marks around the floor, and I've noticed that before too. But there was some young ladies that went there to start roller skating. And, you know, I told them nicely, you know, I said, you know, I was watching because I just felt that thing, like people want to go in there. We've told people before that went in there that had their dogs running around, and they would say, well, the dog's not going to poop. I said, well, a couple days later, we find dog poop all over the courts. So it's like, you know, that's, I guess, you know, it's like a big pen. It's closed in. I get it. You don't want your dog to get hit by a car. We have a dog too, so we understand that. But we also understand that it's a space that's designated for something else. So it's bad enough that you may allow you know, a dog to go in there, but the other thing is, if you're not going to clean after your dog, that makes it double. And you know, most people a lot of times they're not just going to walk away from it. But that's just one of the things that happens. I think they need to have something for like the roller skating, which is a little bit different than the skateboard community. The skateboard community is a little bit more aggressive. Their sport's different, you know what I'm saying, than what we do. You know what I mean? And then there's the roller skaters that do, you know, it's a little passive. Like I noticed that at East Orange in New Jersey, what they were doing there, it's a little bit different. You know what I mean? So they allow them to do that on some of the tennis courts and stuff like that. So it's just a bit different. But for us, we've been dealing with it for a long time. And this is actually the second resurfacing on this floor. So these floors would have been probably unusable by now had it not been for that just was only 5 or 6 years ago. You know what I mean? So we're just trying to protect and preserve it. You know what I mean? So, I mean, that's just something that, you know, we have, because this is the only thing that we have. This is the most
We got 3
underrated.
locations.
Yeah, this is the most underrated, disrespected sport that is probably on this planet. And people don't see it, but that's really the truth. You know what I'm saying? Courts we're getting removed left and right all over New England. It has a lot of history here, not in Green Hill with the old court and even the court from before that. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, when a certain population came up and started playing it, it was frowned upon. You know what I mean? And you know what I'm talking about. And it was something that it was okay when it was played by certain groups. Once, you know, certain people started playing it and it got popular within that group, they looked at it as somehow like a negative, you know, just like the video that you posted with Florence. And that's something that shouldn't be standing today. That was a time, that was a different time, and we hope that no one's thinking that way anymore. And
the video I got from the Lawrence History Center.
Yeah, and that's something, you know,
that
they
they tie in the handball community that was playing at Park Street in Lawrence with, you know, with bringing down the Lawrence community.
Well, it was like that in a lot of the places, because Great Brook Valley had a handball court too, and it was removed for some of the same reasons. And then, obviously, when we spoke to the housing person, that was a former mayor here, and Worcester, had kind of like a certain
mayor.
But he had a predisposition.
Mariano.
He may have been a good mayor, but I'm just saying that, and he probably did good things for the housing. But I'm just trying to say, but it's still a certain kind of point of view or a view that they may have.
What did he say?
Well, he said,
no,
you know, when we said
no
not
handball on my watch.
He said, not on my watch. He actually got pretty upset. And it was really
he got
because
beat
of his
red.
feeling of
like this,
his animosity
excuse me, like this little cap.
His animosity toward the sport.
Like that, así de rojo se puso.
And the people that played it, you know what I'm saying? And that's one of the things that we try to change in the people's minds. It's just a sport. And if certain groups are playing it, and if they're behaving a certain way or something like that, the same thing has happened on basketball courts. I've been in basketball courts and the projects. Obviously, there's going to be people that are going to behave a little different sometimes because there's an element around them. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you remove the basketball courts. You work with what's there and you try to improve it.
When email was sent to the parks, so by tomorrow, this tagging by Skippy Diddy Doo is going to be painted over again. It's going to get painted over again and again and again. So I better not catch you throwing this in the woods again, because I'll
The thing is, we're trying to
you.
find it, like I said, and people need to understand this. We do understand, like I always tell people that I understand the graffiti art type thing, but this is a problem that I have with it. I don't even think that that's what this person is trying to do. But it's still, to be clear, it doesn't give the person the right to, people shouldn't be writing on everything that they see. I mean, there's no right for that. I was watching some video documentaries on that, and I see people writing on everything they possibly, even on you know, people's work things and stuff like that. And that's something that we're really trying to discourage. You know what I mean? People got to learn how to respect the spaces that they use. You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, I don't want nothing negative for that skate park at all. I think it's a positive thing. As angry as I get, as frustrated as I get, that someone from that that's using that comes out here and does this, doesn't mean that everyone else that uses that should pay for that, those people that are doing that. You know what I mean? I think that's an amenity that's necessary and it's a positive amenity. It's just that how do we go about trying to teach that kind of respect to people that use that, to not go to other places and vandalize everything that's around them. You know what I mean? That's the thing that you can't really, you know, let go so far, you know what I mean, without having some repercussions. You know, they got to try to discourage that kind of behavior because it makes it unpleasant for people that come to use these spaces. It doesn't look right, you know what I mean? And then, you know what's crazy? Then they talk about removing the wall. And
What?
Somehow is
What
the
does
wall
the
that
wall
becomes,
got to do with it?
and that will stay. That will stay the way it is, all tagged up like that. And the
When it's
people-
not supposed to, because it
And
says
it
there
says it right on
that
the
they're
sign that it's
right
gonna
on the
have
bottom. Or let's go to the little rules now.
Not, well, where to?
Over there to the little rules, because
No, it says it on it, but
one
I,
of
you know,
the
like, I don't-
regulations says you no
says it,
graffiti
and,
or
you know,
tagging
well,
or
this is the problem. I
sticking
mean, we don't even
on
have
the
to-
on the skate park
We
because
did
it
that.
makes it slippery.
Yeah, for that part. But the problem is if there's no, if I'm sorry about that. if there's no if their group that's using that is not complaining about the sliding and all of that, then let them have what they have. I just don't want them to come out here and do.
But what gives the little
like the other
skippity
video
do
that we
to do
made.
it on the handball wall?
Yeah, because it
Look,
does say that there.
It says right there, now. Put it real close up. Graffiti, tagging, and stickering are prohibited. These items make concrete difficult and dangerous to skate on.
Yeah, I know.
And
And see, and that's the thing, like I said, but it became, and they embedded it into their culture. But the problem is like what we're saying, it's extending here, and we're like I said, I painted that entire wall.
Yeah.
More than once. You know what I'm saying? And I did that wall right there this time around with the beige. I did that wall all by myself, and I had my son, and it was a challenge. You know what I mean? Because it was windy. I had to protect the floor because I respected the floor that I was painting. And then obviously the parks have been painting, and I did it a couple of times after, but the parks have been doing their job, you know what I mean, and maintaining and getting rid of the graffiti. But that's why we're, like I said, so strongly against it, because a lot of times I become being the person, although they provided the paint, the labor, you know what I mean? I got other stuff to do, you know what I mean? But anyway, let's go on.
Yeah, we got to do race gardens. We got to grow our own food.
Well, not that. I mean, we have a bunch of other stuff to do. Like I said, we have,
Nos vemos, gente. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us at Neha Inc. NEHA INC 747@gmail.com. Stay tuned, and thank you, my friend, for letting us know about the tagging that happened today on Monday, August 15th. Bye-bye.